Good morning, everyone. This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. Getting ready here to start the week with our live stream here during the New York session. Busy morning so far. Before we get started, before we get into the charts, going to pause here a few minutes, wait for people to get settled as we jumped on a couple of minutes early. My biggest worry, my biggest fear this morning is that because of the Fed's massive quantitative easing forever response, that this morning the Senate, which is expected to vote in about 17 minutes, and I haven't been able to find one headline on it all morning, that they have under no pressure whatsoever to go ahead and pass this stimulus bill, and then the market will not react kindly to that. Good morning. Good morning, Jesse, Jordan, Sunset Ventures. Hope you all had a good weekend. Hope you all are staying safe, positive. We're here now on day 8 of our quarantine, and each day that passes by, we're definitely more thankful. Dinkar, Mad Mario, Yazbek. Great to see you all here today. We'll get started with our flow in just a moment here. Again, I haven't been able to find one headline yet this morning regarding the Senate vote, but I have up here, I have Forex Live, which is a pretty good RSS feed for news. I have Zero Hedge, and I even have Market Watch. Like Market Watch is like, I don't know, it's not too far off from CNN now, is it? But I'm just looking for whatever information comes over the wires first to find out what's happening. All right, let's get into a little. The futures are blah 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 are now negative. S&P's now turned negative. These were limit down till about 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern time when the Fed went ahead and announced their massive QE program. Basically, they're buying everything except stocks and ETFs right now. And what is the amount? So the amount is up to, I forget how much a day, but it could be up to $1.25 trillion a week. Is that correct? Don't quote me on it, but I think that's the number I have in my head. The reaction so far from the market has been, well, people are saying the dollar is getting like toasted, but not really, right? The dollar was, it hasn't broke 103 yet, and now it's trading at 102.12. It traded down as low as 101.72. Gold's response was okay, up 1% right now. It was up a little bit higher, I don't know, call it 1.5%. And Bitcoin, which was up 10%, is now up 7%. I think the market is looking what happens now to the Senate. And I'm assuming that the Senate is not going to pass this bill this morning. We're going to have to watch what the market's reaction is off of that. All right. Interesting times. Interesting times. What's up, Thomas? You got wrecked. Beautiful. Hernero. I have to tell you, when I woke up this morning, I was in feeling really good in bazooka profits all over the place. I'm not liking to see the market fading this right now. I would love to see some further extensions. I would love to see the US Euro US dollar trade all the way up into this area over here of resistance, or at least this one over here. I would love for the S&P to go limit up today. I would love for gold to go bazooka, but I'm more cautious whether or not these gains are going to hold right now this morning. Listen, I think having a cautious attitude right now is the best, because it's going to be a bumpy morning, right? The futures are already all over the place right now. 3 minutes to the open, they're now positive right now. Again, what I'm focused on right now is the Senate's expected to vote in 12 minutes. I even checked CNN. Well, I don't read CNN. I'm not a CNN reader. I even checked CNN for a headline. I can't find any news about it, but that's what's on my radar. I feel good because I hedged all my short positions because I'm still holding short, but I also took longs in last night around 1.067 to 9. All throughout there, I hedged those. I'm still holding the longs, and hopefully we get some further extension. Feel good about that. Feel good about everything. Yazbek, what was the Australian dollar, Swiss franc? Oh, holding that short. I took profits yesterday morning on this. Last night in Asia, and we'll see. I'm completely neutral to what's going to happen this morning. I would love for us to go limit up on the markets. Just let me give you a little bit further overview before we get into the specifics on the charts. Now, all right, just a couple of things, because I'm always forward looking, trying to position myself. One bit of bad news. Hong Kong was kind of let their guard down. Hong Kong was absolutely amazing in controlling this. Their cases have doubled in the last 48 hours. Their cases have doubled as they kind of let their guard down. This is the biggest worry as far as this whole situation is, because what happens, Trump's already talking now about more people going back to work, because if the economy falls to a standstill and we go into a depression, that's going to cause greater loss than if we kind of build up that herd immunity to the virus. What my worry is that this peaks in May. People start getting back, moving around, and then we get second and third waves. That's my worry. The Hong Kong news kind of set that in motion further this morning. I'm hoping we get some type of big bounce here. S&P futures are down again. I'm hoping we get some type of big bounce, big bounce, Yazbek, on all of these pairs, and get the opportunity to short. But let's see what today's reaction is. The next 45 minutes of trading are super important. People are talking about the dollar being weak. The dollar is not weak. The dollar is relatively strong. Again, I'm hedged even now on this, and I would like to be able to lean into further longs, because ultimately, whatever the Fed, if this is all the Fed has right now, again, they're not buying stocks and ETFs, and this was the dollar's reaction so far. They're not making much of an impact at all. Gold is barely even up. Oh, here we go. Gold is actually up now towards the highs of the days. That's a positive sign. It's trading up 1.5%. Interesting to see silver leading to the upside now. All right. Oh yeah. And we're gonna get into all the charts in just a minute, Hanero. Hanero, if you have anything put together from your session today and you want to share, absolutely, you're always welcome. 100%. So yen was strong earlier today, and right now I don't have a read. I'm gonna have to go through the charts with y'all and find out. Jesse, the other thing that I wanted to say was, I have a little one here to say. All right. We're gonna have to go through all the charts to get a better read on what's going on this morning. Wow, futures down now 1%. Markets all over the place. I have about 8 minutes until the Senate votes. I have not heard anything. Headline: stocks down marginally lower after the Fed sparks unlimited QE. It's too soon to figure out what's going on. Again, I remain ambivalent. I could go either way. Now, Jesse, you were talking about China having a second wave. It's hard to tell what's going on the ground in China, because we don't get any type of clarity or insight. It's really hard to tell what's going on down there. I've read some propaganda that, you know, life is returning to normal in the Wuhan province, but who knows? This is why Twitter's awesome. You kind of get better firsthand accounts. Wow. So markets are really not responding well to this right now. Guys, this is important to follow the market's reaction. The dollar remains, and it's too soon. Believe me, we're going to get into the charts very soon. But we have some big news 5 minutes from now. I believe the Senate is scheduled to vote. And how the market reacts to that is going to be really, really important. That's more important than anything else. That's where my focus is. Let me look at that right now, US dollar, Japanese yen, because I got on the sidelines right now. I noticed, I mean, this looks bullish, Thomas. You're right about that. Again, I'm neutral on my US dollar positions now, holding my shorts, but hedge them long and waiting to see if and what we get a little bit of a bounce. But look what happened overnight. We came back in and we tested that 109.71. That's the blue line over here. This is extremely bullish right now. Again, just so everyone has reference points, the 109.71, this one line over here, this is the line in the sand. Now I have this green line and this red line over here about if you break one way or the other, then it's really time to get long or short. Now I'm not getting long here yet myself. Tom, you're doing, how do I say? Good job, you know. Anyway, great job. I'm just being a little cautious after this vote before I start reinitiating any type of positions or figure out how I want to take this. Yeah, real economy shut down. You got wrecked across the world. Now, again, what we're watching for is second waves. You saw that in Hong Kong, very alarming. We see that in China, extraordinarily alarming. Now they're saying that Germany has been able to go ahead and flatten the curve. Things are picking up over in the US, obviously. We'll see. The next every day is really important right now. We're in a crisis situation. 4 minutes. By the way, I just want to check headlines one more time because I have not seen anything. All right. I expect the vote to start in 4 minutes. I expect this to be the biggest catalyst of the market. I thought personally that we would be trading up this morning on the futures over here up until the vote, and if the vote didn't pass, we'd sell off. Maybe the markets are just putting some pressure on the Senate now. We'll figure it all out as it unfolds over here. We'll deep into the bigger picture. There's a lot to discuss. It's a very, very fast moving puzzle here, and we want to be on the right side. So I want to say a couple things. Not that Thomas is looking for my affirmation whatsoever, but because he shared with us his insights and how he's playing this. I strongly affirm is not the word, like is not the word. So I think you're playing this very smart and intelligent. Let's just leave it at that. $30 days starting tomorrow. Yeah, so and this is, here we go. This is our 8th day on quarantine, and I have to be honest, I've heard a statistic that 1/3 of all Americans feel like they're sick with the coronavirus, which is absolutely impossible. But you know, as each day goes by, you know, and you put more time under knowing that you're safe, you feel better about it. And the main thing right now is obviously to keep everyone healthy. Wow, I have to admit, markets retracing all of this QE. But notice that gold is kind of hanging out all right today. That's pretty promising as far as a market reaction that you're looking for. Um, Monero, let's check out this chart here of the pound US dollar. And I'm looking for a headline here. The vote should be starting in 2 minutes. I'm so surprised I have not seen a headline about it. All right. It's not really labeled up, so it's hard for me to tell what you were looking at, Hanero. Let me see if you left some comments. We'll have to maybe get you online to explain that then to us in a little bit. Incredibly choppy, 100%, which is why I am kind of impressed with the way that you're positioning yourself, sticking with the way that you see the market, and also understanding, just for some perspective. I mean, I would love the opportunity to lean into this trend line over here, or even further down towards this green line over here. That would be ideal. I don't know that we'll get it. I personally think that this is all going to be ultimately dollar bullish. I want to be positioned further Swiss franc, Japanese yen as well. What I am looking for, and I don't know what's going to happen. My levels on the S&P of where I'm really looking for is much higher, at 2,800 and 2,900. Now, I'm going to follow only the market's reaction today. I want to see if the Fed passes this stimulus and or how the market reacts. I also know that the Fed might not pass this stimulus. I want to see how hard the sell-off is, or whether or not it's something they work out within the next 24 or 48 hours. This is the most important thing in the market right now. This is what the market's looking at, and let's just follow it. How about that? Alberto, how's it going? Hope you had a good weekend. Good to see you. Interesting enough, I saw someone post over the weekend that the US dollar Mexican peso has been the most highly correlated thing, reverse correlated to the S&P over these past 20 days or so. Really interesting. All right. So now the Senate should be voting. I just want to check one last time to see if we see any headline. Unbelievable. You got to love how they spin things. The US stocks open lower as the New York Stock Exchange operates without a trading floor for its first time, right? Not that like the markets have gone ahead and after the Fed announced QE for real, have gone ahead and faded it. All right, let's start looking around. Let's start getting into the charts over here. As we're doing that, futures are still down, not at the lows of their day. We were trading down, I'd say 2170 around there when we were limit down this morning. We traded up as much as, let's just look at the chart and then we can tell really quickly. We traded as high over here as almost 2400 and are now off 160 points. Very, very choppy out there. Careful in, recognize your environment first of all. Do not get thrown around and chopped up. That is a painful way to lose money. We're seeing the dollar come off a little bit right now, right? And let's follow the price action. I'm going to start here on the Euro US dollar. Coming back towards the highs of its days right now. And again, this is nothing more than a little bit of a retrace over here. This area over here, if we look, you can see this resistance over here. This is the line to watch today, whether end of the day we're trading above it or under it. Because to keep things simple, if we do close above it, then obviously we're going to drift higher. We have a resistance here and here to look at. That's where I'll look to like let go of my hedges if we do get up to one of those two levels. If the price action takes us lower over here and this line of resistance holds, that's a pretty bearish signal. All right, it's a pretty bearish signal. If anyone gets any word of what happens with the Senate, please do share it, because once I get going, I won't be pausing to look at what's happening. Australian dollar, Swiss franc is still down on the day. It's probably better for me to look at daily timeframes right now. It's still trading down on the day. It's still consolidating. We have the resistance line all the way up here, which is the top of the consolidation area. And right now, currently, we're making lower highs. Now, most likely, what is happening is that we're consolidating, right, in this area, and we'll be looking for a next leg down, unless we get some type of really positive market reaction, which we have not seen yet. Again, the next half hour of trading is going to be really telling as to what happens, and then we'll get a better read whether we're getting a quick pause or not. Again, long-term thinking, base case remains the same for me. This is going to continue to get much worse before it gets better. Now, the Fed is coming in there with an enormous reaction over here. The Fed is basically buying everything corporate debt. They're buying everything but stocks and ETFs. Now, that's probably next. That's probably down the line that they will do that. Ben Bernanke and Janet Yellen have both recently been an advocate of both those things happening. Now, all right, I lost my train of thought there, what I was going to say. Steve, Martin, good morning. Can't believe I can't get a headline on this. Oh, here we go. Is the Fed's QE eternity? QE eternity. Just kill a fiscal stimulus deal. That's what I'm wondering over here. Right? It's reducing the urgency of the Fed to cut a deal. Basically, that's what was happening last night. They said they'll vote 15 minutes after the market's open, kind of put pressure. But there's no resolution of what's happening over there. It's amazing. The most important thing in the market going on right now is what's happening in the Senate, and I can't find any sort of headline about it whatsoever. That's fine. Gold now doing its thing a little bit, and silver coming off its lows, by the way. Silver was down as low as 1168. This could start flying. I think it's more dependent on what's on the Senate. I think longer term, though, I don't think we've seen the lows for gold and silver. At least I'm not calling a bottom in them. I think what we're seeing is a small reprieve in the markets. I do think it's all going to be faded. We'll see. Don't ever underestimate, though, the response of America and Americans. And no matter how difficult the situation gets, do not ever underestimate the response of America. There's no question that right now, I believe they're the third hardest hit by the virus. Is that correct? You have China, Italy, and then the US. Why China is not even on here anymore, I have no idea. That's really weird. Maybe because no one believes the statistics. I have no idea. China and mainland China and all the statistics have been removed from here. Maybe that's because they've been flat for the last 3 weeks. So the US is still the third worst situation right now. But do not underestimate. Do not underestimate. The question is, what happens as far as this stimulus being provided by the Federal Reserve? Is it going to be enough? Is it going to be enough to go ahead and counteract the damage being done to the economy? Questions, the most important questions to being asked right now. So Yazbek, that's a great question. The only thing we could look at is Japan, right, as a model about what happens when the government starts buying, or the central bank starts buying up all of the bonds, and then stocks and ETFs. And the equity markets in Japan peaked out in the 90s. Real estate peaked out at the same time, and they both never have recovered to this day. It's not to say that they won't or can't in the future, but to this day they haven't. Um, and so the best thing is to pull up a chart of the Japanese stock market. You could see there, and I have no idea what happens. I have no idea. Part of Brent Johnson's milkshake theory, as the dollar goes on to become a wrecking ball, and we're talking about levels. I think 150 on the U.S. dollar Japanese yen is considered conservative. Probably looking closer to 200 and above. I have no, he calls for basically, because of the strength of the dollar, that all foreign capital comes into the U.S. stock market, pushing up U.S. equities to all-time highs as the dollar strengthens. So that's a possibility that could happen. Or we could go the way of Venezuela, right? As eventually, right now it looks like we're headed towards a deflationary period. A beautiful video on Mike Maloney's channel posted. I'll find the link and include it for you. And it talks about deflationary period. It was recorded 5 years ago. Obviously, it's moving target. It's hard to get things correct, but everything that is discussed in that video is what's happening right now. And after the deflationary period, usually it becomes the inflationary or hyperinflationary period. And at that point, you can see the stock market making new all-time highs with, basically the currency, usually devalued at the same time. So these are important questions, but not easy to answer. This is the moment Bitcoin was created for. This is the exact moment Bitcoin was created for, as a response to these bailouts, to these money printing. Bitcoin is just getting started. And of course, like anything else, we don't know what the overall reaction is going to be. And I'm not saying that we can't make lower lows. Even I have always been under the impression that the low is here. I didn't expect it to go this low. But at the same time, I understand now that these are unprecedented times and we could go lower. But make no mistakes about it. In just 50 days, Bitcoin is about to get as scarce as gold. And there's going to be a huge, huge flight into this scarce asset with all this money being printed around the world. All right, Jesse's got the floor proceedings going on here too. So we're at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. We'll resume the consideration for the coronavirus stimulus package. Thank you, Jesse, giving the most important thing to focus on here today. So we have 12 o'clock noon Eastern time is that when we should resume consideration for the motion for the coronavirus stimulus package. We'll continue monitoring that and figuring out as that goes. Hanero, I want to take a further look at your chart, buddy. If you get a second, once you get out of some trades, you get a chance to come on in, or otherwise we'll figure out how to get you on, take a look at that. That's for sure. Sherifu, good morning. U.S. equities now turning positive. Gold remains up now 2%, responding as it should, right, to money being printed out of thin air. All right. All right, so here we're looking at the pound, Japanese yen, 15-minute chart. I'm going to start on the left and go right, and then I'll figure, So this is long rejection week, which is support. All right, so he has the support over here, and I could see the one touch over there, and definitely over here, I see that as support, 127.50. Another area of support in right over here. You can see the touches over here and over here and over here. What a move. No, good. All right, most important comment right over here. He missed the move that he was stalking, but did not chase in after it. Look at this. The yen weakness is really taking off right now during this session. But I believe right now the yen is stronger than the US dollar at the same time. Let's take a look right over here. Saw the bearish candle, and then the candle closed bullish above the support over here, indicating buyers in the marketplace 127.60. Here's the 20 pips he took out of there. Right. So Hernero, first of all, thanks for sharing the chart. We're going to get by tomorrow, Hernero, if you get time later in the day, we'll do a test run so that I know that you could get over here to be able to explain these yourselves, explain these yourself. That'd be really, really cool to add. But at the same time, this is the most important of this whole review over here and share, is that he realizes he got out too early, but did trade to the plan. Right. And in this type of environment right now, because Hernero used to be, 10, 20 pips a month ago, things are expanding, ATRs are growing. The ranges that all pairs are trading are growing each and every day. There's more money to be made, and let's get it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a test later today, 100%. What does that mean, Jesse? If it's only a proceeding, is that like they're not voting on it, or I'm not sure what that means, to be honest. I want to take a full review of all the charts right now. I'm going to start here with the dollar index. Dollar trading down over here. You can see this big wick candle coming up, testing the highs and then down. It is a bearish candle being put in there right now. Dollar index is still uber high. Whether or not we're going to get any type of sell-off on the dollar, by sell-off, I mean, what levels are we looking at? First, we would be like a whole number 100, right? That would be the first area for us to focus in on. I remain dollar bullish. I do. Right now, I am just more neutral. I have my short euro US dollar positions hedged, and I'm going to tell you right now where I'm looking for them to come into if I get so lucky. So the first thing I'm tracking now is this trend line on the US dollar index. I'll see how price reacts in and off of that. That will be towards the support area down here. That's about 101, call it, in that area between 170 to 101. A pullback into the top over here of this area, which was also, you could see this pullback and then breakout. Anything above there, we remain uber bullish. Again, I still have the bias towards a strong dollar. The Fed has just thrown an enormous amount of just printing money out of thin air for basically the last QE that we'll ever see, because it'll never stop. And at the same time, the dollar's reaction so far has been muted. All right. Just recognizing what's going on around me. Euro US dollar seems to be taking out this resistance. A close above this resistance will have me looking a little bit more bullish bias towards an extended move here. And it'll probably be somewhere between this area I have at 1.099 and 1.092. I'll reevaluate as long as we close above here and see where I could take this. Is a move up here possible? Well, anything's possible in these days in the market. We'll take things as they come. But right now, Although long term, I remain very bearish on the Euro US dollar. Right now, I've hedged those shorts. Let's start with the Euro Canadian dollar. Oh, interesting. Just to evaluate what has happened over here, you can see this big gap over here has now been closed, and that was the low, and now we're trading up. It seems like it's trading as it should, right? Canadian dollar remains to have that very bearish weak tint to it. Oil prices, I haven't even checked them today, but they're down towards 22.63. It definitely remains, we could be seeing oil under 20. We could be seeing oil, I think the next stop would be 14.50 if we do break under $20. That would not be surprising right now. That's putting pressure on everywhere. But the demand is not there right now. Movement is stopped across the world. We're not even talking about getting back to any semblance of normal. We're just beginning the lockdown in a lot of places. Good news though out of Germany. I believe that the curve was flattened over there today. So right now, all hopeful signs are signs that we're interested in. This is very choppy. Thomas talked about how the markets are choppy today. We always talk about how important it is to recognize the environment we're in, and the worst type of market to trade is a choppy market. All right, so nothing to see or even add to here. So far, Australian dollar, Swiss franc looks like it's consolidating. I'm going to definitely be watching this, waiting for a breakdown or a break up. This resistance over here at 0.5856 is obviously really important. You can see that's where we came into and sold off before we started the consolidation. But that's where we're at right now. I believe on last Friday on the live stream, we were talking about how this week ahead, we were looking for a period of consolidation. It's happening right now so far. So let's see how far that goes. Again, now we're looking at 12 o'clock. I don't have any further information on what just the preceding hearing is. I would like to know. 16 and then 11. That's going to continue to weigh on the ruble. That's going to continue to weigh on the Mexican peso. That's going to continue to weigh on the Canadian dollar. Thank you, Jesse. We'd love to take a look at that as it's happening right now, because I want to see. Hey, Jordan, thank you so much for going ahead and hitting that like button. Thank you for participating and being here with us, most of all, for sure. You guys are all awesome. I appreciate this tight, close-knit group we have in here. Okay, Steve, that's good. There seems to be a lot of politicalness going on over there. And being it's a Senate bill, I don't understand how, what's really interesting right now in the Senate is that the Republicans have lost 5 senators to the coronavirus who are in quarantine. And they've lost the majority in the Senate because of it. Which, I personally would think if you're a US senator, if you're being quarantined because of the coronavirus, that you should still be able to go ahead and press a button and be able to cast your vote. What's going to happen if 20% of the Senate goes down and the House? It's great to see. It's great to see the country come together in this time. But I guess that's why the Fed stepped in today. New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. Same thing is going on the Australian dollar, Swiss franc. And you can see this coming to a point. You can see the lower highs and the higher lows, which means that this kind of makes it a little bit easier to play what type of breakout is next. I'm not looking at all to go counter trend on any of these pairs. When I look at the Japanese yen pairs or the Swiss franc pairs, especially against the commodity currencies, I am not looking to go counter trend, even if we receive a strong move, right? Because we could get a 400 pip move up to the upside, 300 to 400 pip move up, and that would not be surprising at all. Nevertheless, the risk, I believe, is not to the upside. The risk is to the downside. So I have no interest in counter trend trades at all, and only will position in if I get the honey pot, if it comes to me, exactly where I want it. Euro, British pound, after spiking, and then retracing, is now, again, it's the story of the day, consolidating. It's halfway now between the high and the low, and it's just in the middle. It's too soon yet, I believe, to figure out what the next moves are or when they're going to happen. We are in a choppy consolidation period right now with not much movement at all. This is a look at the New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. This is tough. I skipped over the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar completely because it's just two weak currencies. Same thing here with the New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. There's just too much strength in the market to go ahead and get lost playing anything like that. Again, this is the reaction of the dollar with the weak, quote unquote, weak dollar. It's not weak. You could see it's just pull back a little bit. I favor the dollar for sure here over the Swiss franc. Look at this nice, beautiful V-shaped. It's now after making coming up and making a higher high over here. This looks like the dollar index alone. It's just coming back down into this area of support. Do we get any lower? I have no idea. I don't have a good read on it. All I know is that I definitely remain bullish on the dollar. US dollar, Japanese yen looks very healthy over here. And I love how today it came in, pulled back into the 109.71 area, our level, our most important level here, and now is back above the 110.53 level, which means that bullish biased. Have to wait. I don't want to come in here and take a position yet, but I might have to. So I have to revisit that. That's the only thing that seems interesting to me. Yesterday in Asia, I got out of my US dollar Japanese longs and just hedged up my euro US dollars. Take a sip of coffee here. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the curve in Germany is flat in preparation for the right. Yeah. So Yazbek, I mean, I'm with you. I don't think we've seen the worst of the virus by any means. So, and you're not busting my bra. Yeah, no, please. We just want information that we could share and process together. That's all we're looking for. And if anyone ever has any opinion that's contrary to my own, but by all means, that's exactly what I'm looking for. As you all know, I'm always looking to get the other side of whatever position I have in. I have no problem changing my position in a second. Now, long term, we have not seen the worst. If anyone has not seen on YouTube Event 201, this was a stimulation done in October between the Bill Gates Foundation, the World Health Organization, and Johns Hopkins University. And they were, 1 month before the pandemic started, they were stimulating the exact pandemic that started. And they basically what they said, by month 6 is when things really got bad. All of a sudden, the virus started growing at a much faster rate. Mega cities, especially those with high degrees of poverty, is what got hit hardest. Right now, what we are looking at, right, is May being the peak of the virus, but we have to watch out for actually things getting much worse then. I'm not sure of Angela Merkel by saying that they expected 70-80% of the population to catch it was fear mongering, because she was about to take Germany off of any type of responsible fiscal budget and going to which Germany has done since World War II, and now going to debt. So I'm not sure whether she did that as an excuse to all of a sudden change the course of Germany's fiscal situation, or she believes that. US equities are so choppy, now green on the day. Trying to just get an overview. Gold near its highs of the day, silver even higher, and Bitcoin even higher. And this is just a listen, the future is Bitcoin and gold. Now there's no way of telling. Hold on a second. There's no way of telling if and when silver is going to outperform gold, as everyone expects it will during the next bull market phase. And the reason I say that, and we discussed this closely over the weekend, is because right now you have central banks and countries buying enormous amounts of gold. They're preparing for the reset of the system. Whoever holds the gold will make the rules. So things are a little different than they normally have been, in the fact that, again, you have this huge bid. Actually, Russia just yesterday released its gold purchases for February. Everyone thought they were going to be down. They were higher than January. That being said, Bitcoin, as you can see, up 8% today, while the others are up almost 2%. Bitcoin is going to lead in appreciation over the other two, hands down, not even comparable. What happens during this period, because the crisis is far from over, in my view, in all of your views, it seems as well. Do gold and or Bitcoin see lower lows? Well, I don't know. And just as people are calling for gold to trade, under $1,000 or 800, they don't know either. Nobody knows. Yeah, and it's not something I could wrap my mind around. But when people are talking about the possibility exists that the price of oil could go negative, I have to be honest. I don't really understand that. It's not something I could envision or know if that's even a possibility. And the reason they say that is because it'll basically cost more to store than meets the demand. Is $11 oil unreasonable? I don't think anything in this type of environment is unreasonable. Now, Raoul Paul was the first one that I know of who really put our focus on the possible coming depression. And then it seems to me a few weeks later, everyone else has caught up with that. Yeah, it seems that everyone else has caught up with that, and then you're seeing that like almost that like the mere mentioning of that has become like, how dare you? That's not even a possibility. If we do come into a depression, is it possible we see oil under $11? I mean, I think everything's on the table right now. I can't even imagine the further destruction to the economy that will bring, the amount of people that will be out of work. I was speaking to someone over the weekend, someone who has a really good job with a really amazing company. They build the sports stadiums across the world. They build out all types of buildings, including like Google's Manhattan building, projects that are just extraordinarily big. Guy makes good money. He's basically saying, he has a mortgage. He's got some money saved. But they were talking that 2 or 3 months from now, the boss will not be able to continue paying salaries. They're going to have to let people go. Now, he's been with the company for a long time. I don't know that he'll be one of the first to go, but a lot of people in the United States, at least, they have, including their mortgage, a lot of debt. And all of a sudden, if they lose the means to pay their debt off, as they lose their income, things could spiral out of control. And it's not just the US, it's in a lot of different places, and things could get really bad. Now they've talked about suspending mortgage payments for 2 months. I mean, there's a lot of renters in the United States also, so I don't really know how that works out or it's fair. Listen, it's our job to prepare in here, and we have to consider all possibilities. Again, the choppiness continues. Markets have gone red now, and dollar. So again, weak dollar, but the dollar is now positive on the day. So it's not so weak yet. We have Jesse's going to provide us with that link, so we'll be able to follow what happens in there. Let's keep going down the rabbit hole, find out what else we see. Euro, Swiss franc, coming off the lows here. Again, this is not something in this type of environment that I would even begin to stand in front of. If we do come into this resistance over here, I think at that point, though, no, I made a deal with myself. I made a point that I won't get involved in this pair, so I'm not going to do that. Pound Canadian dollar. Canadian dollars made some big gains off the pound. This actually looks like a nice place to lean in to buy over here. You can see that this, let's put this in over here. Right, that area of support held over here, and now we're bouncing off a little bit. We haven't yet made any higher highs even on the daily, but this area over here looks like a good area to lean into because we could cut our risk short. This is actually something to come back to. Looks really good here, the pound Canadian dollar. Euro, Australian dollar. Look at that. What was that spike? Remember that? Again, this is the familiar pattern we're seeing play out in a lot of currency pairs of us consolidating now, figuring out what's next, and it's too soon. The move is not going to happen just yet. So this is where I'm envious of Thomas sticking to his guns on the dollar, Swiss franc, and Japanese yen. And I say envious in a good way, not in a bad one, because it's kind of a bad word. Envious in a good way. Japanese yen remains strong on the day. That's a really I don't even know how to word it. Everything's unclear. When my voice goes like that, I'm able to read the tone, and I'm able to discern that it still remains unclear. What I hope to see would be further consolidation and closer to this resistance, and then things will get interesting. I want a piece of it. It's not time for me to take a piece. New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Again, there's not much more to say, but paint the bigger picture. Bigger picture is So it's a little interesting to see. I think the last big bullet here for me is after the stimulus is passed, because I believe the stimulus gets passed this week. Steve was saying it'd probably be a couple of days. That's definitely probably the correct assessment. Definitely, possibly the correct assessment. But the Fed just threw everything they had except buying stocks at the market. The Fed just threw everything at the market. Dollar is what is basically like brushing its shoulder and being like, that's all you got. So what I'm looking for is the Fed stimulus to be passed. That is going to be another round of punches. I'm waiting to see if that does a little bit more damage, and then I'm looking to fade that reaction. And how soon that happens, I have no idea. Probably the day that the bill is passed, and then probably the day that President Trump signs it into law. That's probably the day that I'll step in to fade it. At least that's the picture I've painted for myself. And things rarely play out exactly as you want them to, but that's the plan I have in my head. So the reason I'm talking about that now is because, again, we're in the same exact picture of consolidating over here. Let's see if we get towards the top of there and or break out to get higher before looking to fade. I'm not looking to build any positions in towards where I would like my positions to be. How about that? Again, this is a familiar sight on every single currency pair right now, and it's what's happening today. Yeah, you put the best word on it earlier today. This looks a little bit more positive bid. You put the best word on it today when you said choppy. That's the market conditions of the day. I'll even go as far as to add choppy consolidation. Nevertheless, a story is being told today. A story is being told, and it's the most important thing to watch how price reacts. Fed just came in with QE Infinity. I like QE Infinity because it's appropriate. They have no intention of stopping at this point. The end game is getting that much closer. Now, some people though are these things take a long time to play out. First gradual, then sudden, and that sudden piece will be sudden, which is why it's impossible. If you don't own gold, it's going to be impossible to get it. Because even if if it trades down to $1,000, you won't be able to get the physical stuff, and if you do, there's going to be a $400 or $500 premium on it. So you might as well just try to buy it now. From what I understand, it's not easy to get gold or silver right now. There is a backlog of a couple of weeks. That's not such a bad thing. You should be trying to do what you can. If you can't see the writing on the wall for what the future holds, it is, although it could be a huge deflationary depression first, ultimately the end game is going to be the devaluation of the dollar. US dollar, Canadian dollar. US dollar is up on the day. Wow. Wow. Weak dollar, and except the dollar is still doing its wrecking ball thing. So the Mexican peso and the Canadian dollar have been two of the weakest, and you could see it. Look at this. The dollar's trading at towards its highs here on the peso. That's interesting, and also versus the Canadian dollar. Although I do see this still as entering into consolidation, right? Hey, people are calling for above $2 on the US dollar, Canadian dollar. I have no idea, but if we're going to see oil, trading down much lower, entirely possible. People talking about $200 on the US dollar Japanese yen. Hey, you got other people talking about the dollar is going to be, they think that the QE today is bearish the dollar. That's a market. You got both sides. I don't think that personally. I think that this is obviously the dollar is going to shake it off. How soon though? Timing is everything. Pound US dollar. It's never a perfect world. In a perfect world, again, same exact thing. In a perfect world, trading up further into this area of resistance would be ideal. Now, I don't know that happens. Let's watch how the dollar reacts. Again, the most important thing is going to be this week to see how the market reacts to the Senate bill. Again, the picture I'm painting is that the market rallies up until it's signed into law by the president. I have no idea from the time the Senate does pass it. We don't know when that will be. First of all, I go with Steve's base case of a couple of days, and then I believe it gets passed, and then I don't know how long it takes for the president to sign into. But I think that will be, or that's where I'm looking for us to rally into, and that will be where I look to take my positions, how I would like to get positioned further for this. There you go. What is Dinkar, what is S&P? You can see it versus the US dollar too. The Canadian dollar just remains uber weak. First thing I want to do is look at oil. You can see that it's down towards almost probably the lows of the session, I guess. I'm not sure about that, but I did see it trading up higher about an hour ago, down 4%, and I still think that we're going to be in a period of consolidation yet. So I'm not looking for any after these type of moves that we saw. I mean, generally what you do get is consolidation before the next leg. So I'm holding back. Yeah. So the S&P, so this will sound probably crazy or ridiculous for most. I'm looking for, and I don't know that it will happen, I'm looking for this sweet spot of between 2920 and 2800. I'm looking for a market rally. I'm looking for this to be a suckers rally, right? I'm looking for that pattern that I've seen throughout history. And today this could be the week that we get a sharp rally. If the market, I don't know how the market's going to react. If the market reacts this way to the Senate stimulus, until Trump, puts it in, for sure we could get a sharp rally, and a lot of people will buy into it. A lot of people will believe that the Fed has came to the rescue, and they're going to believe we're all trained to buy the dip. We're all trained to believe that the Fed has the markets back, and that the Fed is going to win. Every single one of us is trained over the last 12 years to understand that and believe that. So I would not be surprised if that's what happens. At the same time, I believe the damage being done to the economy is so severe that we might never get that bounce. Which would be, if you looked at the steepness of this fall has been steeper and quicker than any other fall in history. Now, the 1987 crash was deeper so far, but not in as short of time. This is the steepest, deepest fall in this amount of time the markets have experienced. So there's the possibility we don't even get a bounce. But I am looking for that big bounce towards 28. Yeah. And unfortunately, not only are they a problem, not only are they creating the problem and then pretending they're the solution. Ultimately, and I have no idea how long this takes to play out. I have no idea. But what I do know is these things tend to play out a lot longer than people think they can. That the system is really broken this time. There's going to be some type of new system that comes out of all of this. It's probably going to put us all in a much worse situation. When I say, I mean by loss of freedoms and liberties, which is the most important thing in the world. Those things are going to be taken from us. The people are going to give them up willingly and gladly. And I ultimately think it's the Federal Reserve this time that's going to be sacrificed. Where it was Lehman last time, I think this time it's going to be the Federal Reserve. Luca, what's going on? About 90 minutes. So I have no idea, even Jesse, if it's just a procedural vote. I don't. It doesn't look like we're going to see any type of market reaction off of that. Then I thought they were actually looking to vote on passing the bill this morning. Uh, Obviously, that's not the case. Let me see if I get a headline. This is just another word for choppy. Here's the thing about timing gold. Is this what finally turns the gold market? Like, I don't think it's possible to time gold. All I can say is that you want to own it, right? So if you don't own gold, all right. So I can't get any read on that. All we could do is stick to price. But I do think or the picture I painted in my head is we are now consolidating. I'm looking for whenever the Senate does pass the bill for a relief rally, which I'm looking to then ultimately fade. And probably is going to be the moment Trump's pen signs that bill into law. Now, there's the possibility we don't even get a relief rally, right? This is look at the market, what the market's saying about what the Fed did today. The market doesn't think it's enough. The Fed just did everything it possibly could to do, and the market doesn't think it's enough. Interesting. Dollar barely hit by this, barely moved. It's down a tiny bit on the day. And you could see that the yen is strong and the Swiss franc is strong. I don't know. I think the US has lost all credibility. I think China and Russia are planning accordingly. Um, but again, never underestimate the powers that be in the US, but all empires come to an end. All empires come to an end. And they all have ended with the inflating of the money supply. Sound familiar?
So the one thing that I want to keep ingraining in all of you is that obviously everyone's clear to see that we're in a crisis. This crisis looks to be way bigger, way big, as we all said it was from 2008 when what the response was. You know, it was, this is going to create bigger problems down the line. This is not a solution, and it's going to create a bigger crisis. Here's the bigger crisis. People are either going to be severely hurt and harmed by this crisis, and then there are going to be those that are able to navigate it and not only prosper from it, or I should say not only survive but prosper, right? So now's the time to begin changing your thinking. Now's the time to plan ahead. Even small moves will get you there. US dollar, Canadian dollar, here we are, right here. It's up on the day. Wow, right? US dollar, Mexican peso, up 1.8% on the day. Look at this. Markets are barely unchanged on the day. Interesting. Yeah, trading's always going to be here, and you know, trading's always going to be here, plain and simple, right? Um, you know, when we talk about one world currency and that being the plan of the elite and all that, I mean, generally, what that one world currency looks like it's going to be, in my view, it's going to be the IMF who's going to save the system in quotes. They're going to implement the new system. They're going to come be the savior, and at the same time enslave us. It's going to be the central bank digital token, what it's going to be called, I believe, backed by the SDRs, which is a basket of currencies throughout the world. That's the one world currency. But in each region of the world, I do believe that you're going to have their own individual currencies. The US dollar, even if it collapses, is still going to be the US dollar for the domestic United States economy. It just no longer will be the instrument of trade throughout the world, right? No one in any of the country is going to want to buy or own dollars. But inside the US, the dollar is still going to be used for trade. And you're still going to have all these different currencies and or cryptocurrencies, right? You're going to have, where are my cryptocurrencies? Here they are. You're going to have a multitude of cryptocurrencies. They'll be available for trading. But even when you get down to FX and foreign exchange and individual currencies, I personally do believe that they are going to continue to trade. I believe the yuan is eventually going to one day become a desired currency for trade, which it is not now. He's, you know what's amazing, and Thomas, I did spend a lot of time over the weekend getting into the the Big Debt Crisis: Principles for Navigating the Big Debt Crisis by Ray Dalio. You could go ahead and you just Google it, and then there's a free download if you want to download it directly from Ray's website. And what's amazing to me is this guy knew what was. This is really amazing. Ray Dalio, who owns the biggest hedge fund, Brightwater, in the entire world. When I say biggest, they manage the most money. He
has the best researchers at his disposal. He knew that this crisis was coming. He spent all his time and energy and resources studying every single past crisis in order to prepare for this one. And then as this one unfolded, his fund is down over 20% and he was not able to trade it correctly and is actually behind it. How difficult are the markets that the person overseeing the most money in the world, the person who knew it was coming, prepared himself, reliving each and every other past crisis in order to prepare for this crisis, is now behind the ball. And ultimately, probably he won't be, because he's been a big advocate of gold, and I'm sure he owns enough gold that at the end of this, he's going to come out on the right side. But imagine how difficult this is. Mike Maloney's video on deflation that was uploaded within the last few days is a really one that I recommend to everyone watch. It was something he had recorded back in 2015 and is entirely relevant right now. Interesting, I mean, right now in this moment, what's interesting to me is how price is reacting to all of this, and interesting to see in this moment gold outperforming silver. That does remain my base case, that gold will outperform silver. I think Bitcoin needs to reclaim this trend line over here. This trend line over here, in order to be where I would say that it is like you could take a breath and probably pretty bullish, or that would be the first signal, at least. What is the euro doing so far now this morning? It's up at its highs of its day. I am just I hedged all my positions and I'm so happy about it. Things can't go straight up or straight down forever. I have to say, just looking over, checking the comments right now, and you guys, wow, I think our group right now is smaller and tighter than ever. I have to say, I'm extremely happy with that. We are on day 8 of our quarantine here in the house. each day that goes by, you feel a little more grateful. No, that's what I mean. This is just us now. Thank all of you. This is family.
Definitely, look, go check it out right now. Those guys, unbelievable. I can't believe I can't find any clear information about what's going on over there. They're not leaking anything. I bet it's not going well. Let's check out the New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, of course. Well, Luca, I have to say, I have to start off with my bias is definitely further to the downside on this. I think we're going to wind up making lower lows down over here, maybe even collapsing much further, because I am so far in the camp that there is zero sign of recovery right now, right? Zero sign of recovery right now. I think that this situation gets much worse. But right over here, you could see, you could see we're headed in this trajectory right now. You can see we have this really sharp downfall. And now since we are putting in a couple of lower highs. So you got to get down below this local low over here for a sign that you're continuing down. But again, without I'm not willing to take any short positions on this until we consolidate further and or get a relief rally. I see things consolidating today, and I would even lean towards taking the counter trend on them, but I won't do that. Market's really coming in under pressure right now. Not at the lows of the day, but down towards the only thing that's holding up really well is gold and Bitcoin. Dollars all over the place. You could see we were talking about that correlation between the equity markets and the S&P and Mexican peso, and you could see that in full effect. It's just a complete. Let me pull it up. Let me show you. You could see how tight that reverse correlation is. It's amazing. I have zero understanding of why. I saw someone pointed out on Twitter, and it's clear as day. And Lucas, I'm not trying to at all talk you out of your position. Zero. I am unclear. That's all I could say. You have the again, you have to read the signs right now. You have the dollar. Well, the dollar's barely down, isn't it? People are saying the dollar's weak today. It's so far off, barely. Not that that can't change one way or the other by the end of the day, but and the Australian dollar, US dollar is just simply tracking that. They're down about the same percent. The Australian dollar, US dollar is up a quarter of a percent, and the dollar index is down 0.1%. So this is really just more about the US dollar off a little bit today than the Australian dollar being strong or anything like that. Now, my not worry, what I'm looking out for is if indeed the Chinese economy does return back and recover from this, and the measures they took in order to combat the virus may allow for them to be able to be the first place in the world that does recover and return to work and get their economy going. The Australian dollar could benefit from that, but I remain very, very bearish on it right now, and more so because I remain a dollar bull, and I think we're trading down towards 50 cents and then probably lower, probably down towards 40 cents, right? So right now, it, not there's nothing looks attractive to me right now, and I prefer to kind of hang out and wait until it does. That's right, Mark. That's what it's about, right? And you know, I don't want to get to US dollar Japanese yen. Yeah, this looks better. I don't want to, like, if we're above 112.18 right over here, what 112.20, like, let me set an alert right now. Because I don't want to miss that trade. You got to, if we start breaking out to the upside, I got to be long. Got to be long. Got to follow it. It is king dollar. Right now, Fed just instituted everything it has, right? So you would expect the dollar to trade off a little bit. The other thing that we were concerned about would be what happens if the 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 White House throws something at it, the Senate, right? So let's wait and see what happens with that. And that could be another little bit of like punch at the dollar. And then if that brings the dollar down a little bit, we could go in and we could get reposition ourselves long US dollar. The only other thing that could happen would be like a Plaza Accord type agreement where all the central banks and currencies across the world come to act against the dollar. But I don't think that will be in too much later in the story when things are literally breaking. So what else do you all have today? What are we looking at here? So it's now 11, so it's about an hour, Jesse, until we get word about the Senate. I want to stay online with all you guys. I also don't want to bore all of you guys. There's not much for me to add to the conversation right now. So that's what it is. Gold now really breaking out to the upside. This is a reaction that we would expect today, don't you think? So it's nice to see gold participating.
gold, teeing off right now, and also it's so far the dollar is not even getting really beat up at all yet. I'm not saying it won't or it can't. Um, Obviously, you start breaking out above 103, and you got the upside breakout happening. But until right now, we're consolidating at the top. I'm looking at this trend line over here and then down, also way lower to see if we get there. I won't be surprised this week if we get a little bit of the dollar, you know, I don't even want to say beat up, just come off a little bit with what the amount of stimulus they're throwing out of it at it. Now, how the dollar reacts and how quickly it gets up off the floor, that will be the telltale sign of if we're entering the next really phase of this dollar bull. Bitcoin kind of muted over the last 2 hours. Gold is really breaking out here. That's right. I'm so happy to see gold acting like gold right now. Perfect response to what's going on here, as far as the amount of money being printed and injected into the economy, and gold is acting rightfully so. Again, the plan is there eventually comes a day when, even with a rising dollar, gold will outperform. However, I do believe that there still will be a time when gold does continue to come under pressure. I just don't think that I think you got to own it, right? And I don't think you got to try to time it. All right, everyone. I think this is a perfect place to wrap it up. There's a lot going on. Just anyone that's here right now, hold on one second. So I'm going to delete this link. But anyone here right now, you're welcome to join us on Telegram, because this is the core group right here. And I'm going to delete that link. I'm just going to stay on another minute or two. Give anyone a chance who's here if they want to come in and join us off live stream. And then, but I don't want people watching the replay later to get a hold of that link. So I will delete that in just a moment before I say, call it a day and wrap up over here. Nice thing, car. All right, so I'm about to delete that link. If anyone else needs it, go ahead, copy and paste it. I'm gonna take it offline right now. All right, everyone, have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you soon.